Yo, I'm concerned about Jaron Boots Ennis and the current state of his career. Certain things just aren't making sense to me. And realistically, I'll make a longer video about this topic because I want to deep dive into it. But I want to give out some of my thoughts in this Ego Thoughts video. Very concerning times. And you can't say I didn't warn you. I always question the Eddie Hearn partnership, leaving the Showtime side, leaving Steven Espinoza, just Jaron Boots Ennis going from where he was in terms of his career, in terms of star power, trying to become a pay-per-view attraction and a pay-per-view draw, to the limelight. And I always question how that would look with Eddie Hearn. And I think 2 fights in, about a year in, we're getting close to a year anniversary of when he signed to Matchroom. I think we have the answers. Now, the thing that's concerning to me is the fact that Eddie Hearn's doing interviews and saying that Jaron Ennis wants to unify. That's all they keep saying. He wants to unify. He didn't fight Virgil Ortiz. He's saying you can't knock him for that because he's staying at 47. To me, the whole situation was mishandled. I understand why people are saying it's a duck. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't benefit the career of Jaron Ennis. I've already made videos about why specifically I feel the Virgil Ortiz fallout was not a good look for Jaron Ennis. You guys can check those videos on the channel. But now Eddie Hearn is saying he wants to do a unification. Small problem. Every fighter is in negotiations for the most part for their next fight, and it's not Jaron Boots Ennis. Eddie Hearn has Conor Benn, and he's already been on record saying we offered Mario Barrios a deal to fight Conor Benn. So if the plan is to really cater to and get a unification for Boots Ennis, why would you send an offer for Conor Benn to fight Barrios as opposed to Jaron Boots Ennis? Makes no sense. Then you've already revisited the Brian Norman fight. You couldn't get it done. The fight is not happening. And then he ended up getting injured. And to our knowledge, they're rescheduling it. So they're rescheduling that Top Rank deal. So that's another person. And then finally, Stanionis, which I've already said many times, Stanionis is fighting Giasov, which is also an Eddie Hearn fighter. So how is Eddie Hearn in one breath going to say Jaron is staying at 147 welterweight for a unification, but then he can't unify given the current landscape? There's only but a handful of champions. Jaron Ennis can't fight himself, which means he has to fight one of the 3 people, and I just outlined their schedule. So again, where does Jaron Ennis go from here? Then in the interview, they said that the Teofimo Lopez fight was offered, but Boots really prefers to unify. Like, it's like I'm talking to a brick wall. That's how I feel. What are we talking about? I just told you the other champions that Boots can unify with, right? They're pretty much occupied or likely occupied. There's an asterisk by them, all of them. So the Teofimo seems like maybe the best option for a name when you can't get a unification. So to me, from Eddie Hearn and Jaron Ennis and Bozy and Team Boots Ennis, there seems to be a lot of double talking where it's like, hey, we want Jaron Ennis to unify, but do you really? If you really want him to unify, then you send offers not on behalf of Conor Benn to Barrios, but you send an offer to Mario Barrios to face Jaron Ennis, which is your champion. What part of the game is that where you have a promoter and the promoter seemingly cares more about the non-champion getting a title fight as opposed to their champion who's with them under their roster, and it would be a unification? For example, When have you ever seen PBC do this? Remember when Errol Spence beat Kell Brook for the IBF title? That would be like PBC having Sean Porter on the roster and he had the WBC belt, and then instead of giving Errol Spence the opportunity to fight Porter to unify the title, they give it to Adrian Broner. You know what I mean? And you could argue Broner at that time maybe was a bigger brand or he had a big name, but it wouldn't make sense for you to give Sergey Lipinets or Adrian Broner or Barrios the opportunity with Sean Porter rather than a unification. And this is the fake part about boxing, because people, when Better Biev fights Bivol on Riyadh season and DAZN and they advertise it, everybody's like, oh, undisputed, oh, unifications, we love those. If you love them so much and you guys big up unifications to promote fights and only when it's convenient, then why would you try to make a Conor Ben Barrios fight over a unification with Jaron Boots Ennis? And then at least, because we know Barrios only been stopped by Tank Davis, and he fought guys like Keith Thurman, Maidana's brother Fabian, and he just recently fought against Abel Ramos, got hurt, and he's a warrior. So if Jaron Ennis got the fight and was able to stop him, people would give him credit, and people would be like, yo, okay, that's a good win for Boots Ennis, perhaps his best win or one of his best wins. So I'm not understanding it. I'm not understanding the pathway at all. And then Teofimo, different people feel different ways. Some people are like, it's a guy from a lighter weight class, so why should Boots Ennis fight him? But this is the predicament that Jaron Ennis is in, where he's lacking and it doesn't seem to be a strong play to get him some action and some motion. And to be honest, it looked like his pathway, had he stayed with PBC events and had he stayed on Showtime, seemed a lot clearer, because Barrios and Stanionis are with PBC, right? So if Bozy and Jaron chose to stay with Espinoza and wait their turn, I'm pretty sure PBC would have granted them a fight with one of the two champions at welterweight that they have, Stanionis or Barrios. Now he's with Eddie Hearn and he's being overpaid, which is cool. You're making money, but legacy in terms of believability, none of that stuff is there. People are calling you the email champ because you got your belt via email, and you're not getting any looks to really solidify yourself as a true welterweight champion. And you're saying, I didn't take the Virgil Ortiz fight because of unifications, but then you're not getting the unifications. And for real, if I'm being honest, I don't mind personally the Teofimo fight, because maybe that's the best available given everything that I said about the other champions and their statuses. However, what does that really prove? Jaron Ennis, a welterweight, beating a guy at 140 who just comes off of Steve Claggett performance where he looked mid. You know what I mean? I don't really know if that really helps your case. People would just be like, he kind of did what he was supposed to do. This is the problem that Jaron Ennis is facing. I'll make a longer video, so subscribe to the channel for that.